snap.
Oh.
I wasn't sure it was you. It's not a very good likeness.
I assure you, this is how I look.
No, I mean the photograph. The photograph is younger.
No, it must be an old photograph.
Bill McKendrick.
How odd.
Is it?
Young and therefore old, and old and therefore young. So it's only odd at first glance.
Ah, yes.
Because the second glance is known as linguistic analysis. There are a lot of chaps pointing out that we don't always mean what we say, even when we manage to say what we mean. Personally, I'm quite prepared to believe it. Have you ever noticed the way the wings keep wagging? I try to look away and think of something else, but I'm drawn back irresistibly. I don't think I'd be nervous about flying if the wings didn't wag. They're solid steel, thick as a bank safe, flexing like tree branches. It's not natural. There's a coldness around my heart, as I'd seen your cigarette smoke knock against the ceiling and break in two like a breadstick. Oh, by the way, that's a non-smoking seat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I like to collect little curiosities for the language chaps. It's like handing round a bag of licorice sauce. They're terribly grateful. Oh, you're not a language chap yourself?
No, I'm McKendrick.
You'll be giving a paper?
Yes. Nothing new, actually. More a summing up of my corner, my usual thing, you know.
Jolly good.
Perhaps you've come across some of my stuff.
So clearly that is a reasonable expectation. I am sorry, I'm sure I know your name. But I don't read the philosophical journals as much as I should, and I hardly ever go to these international gunfights. I've no time nowadays. They shouldn't call us professors. It's more like being a faculty almoner.
Well, at least my paper will be new to you. We're the only English actually singing for our supper, I mean. I expect there'll be a few more along for the free trip and the social life. As a matter of fact, I see we've got one on board, up at the back there. Do you know Prague?
Well, not personally. I know the name. Oh, Prague, I'm sorry. No, I've never been there. Or have I? Because I got an honorary degree at Bratislava once. We changed planes at Prague. No, it might have been Vienna, actually. Wag.
It's Andrew Chetwin. Do you know him?
Not personally.
Well, I don't know him personally. Do you know his line at all?
Not as such.
Have you heard of him?
No, in a word.
He's been quite public recently.
He's an ethics chap, is he?
Well, his line is that Aristotle got it more or less right and St. Augustine brought it up to date.
I can see that might make him conspicuous.
Oh, it's not that. I mean, politics. Letters to the Times about persecuted professors with unpronounceable names. Surprised the Czechs gave him a visa.
There's some rather dubious things happening in Czechoslovakia, ethically.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
And we must try not to pretend otherwise.
Oh, quite. I mean, I don't. My work is pretty political. I mean, by implication, of course, as yours is. I'm looking forward to hearing you.
Oh, thank you. I'm sure your paper will be very interesting, too.
As a matter of fact, I think there's a lot of juice left in the fictions problem.
Is that what you're speaking on?
No, you are.
Oh, am I? Oh, yes, so I am.
Ethical fictions as ethical foundations.
Yes. But to tell you the truth, I've an ulterior motive for coming to Czechoslovakia at this time. I'm being a tiny bit naughty.
Naughty?
Unethical. Well, I'm being paid for by the Czech government, after all.
What are you...
No, I don't think I'm going to tell you. You see, if I tell you, I make you a co-conspirator, whether or not you would have wished to be one. And ethically, I shall give you the opportunity of choosing to be one or not.
Then why don't you give me the opportunity?
Well, I can't without telling you. It's an impasse.
Look, Professor Anderson, if it's political in any way, I really would be very interested.
Why are you a politics chap?
Well, one is naturally interested in what is happening in these places, and I have an academic interest. My field is the philosophical assumptions of social science.
How fascinating. What is that exactly?
Well, perhaps my paper tomorrow afternoon will give you a fair idea.
Tomorrow afternoon? Yes. Oh, I say, what rotten luck. That's exactly when I have to play truant. I am sorry.
It's all right.
Well, I expect they'll have copies.
Expect so, yes.
The philosophical assumptions of socialism.
More or less.
McCarthy.
McKendrick.
And how are things at...
Stoke.
Stoke? An excellent university, I believe.
You know perfectly well you wouldn't be seen dead in it.
Even if that were true, my being seen dead in a place has never, so far as I know, been thought a condition of its excellence.
Very good. Wit and paradox, verbal felicity, an occupation for gentlemen, a higher civilization alive and flourishing in the older universities. See, you like tits and bums, by the way.
Ah.
They won't let you in with that, you know. You'll have to hide it.
Well, as a matter of fact, it doesn't belong to me.
Western decadence, you see. Marxists are a terrible lot of prudes. I can say that because I'm a bit that way myself.
Oh, surprise me.
Mind you, when I say I'm a Marxist,
Oh, I see.
I don't mean that I'm an apologist for everything done in the name of Marxism.
No, quite. I mean, there's nothing anti-socialist about it. And quite the reverse. The rich have always had it to themselves.
On the contrary. That's why I really would be very interested if any extracurricular activities that might be going on, I have an open mind about it.
Oh, yes, indeed, so have I.
I sail pretty close to the wind, Marx-wise.
Mind you, it's an odd thing. But travel broadens the mind in a way the proverbialist didn't quite intend. It's only at airports and railway stations that one finds in oneself a curiosity about, erotica and, girly magazines.
Perhaps you've come across some of my stuff.
What do you mean you write for? Oh, your, articles. Well, no, I'm afraid, as I explained, I'm not very good at keeping up with the philosophical...
I got one in here. Page 61. Science fiction short story. Not a bad life. Science fiction and sex. And, of course, the philosophical assumptions of social science.
Oh, thank you very much.
Keep it, by all means. I wonder if there'll be any decent women.
You'll fill in this form, please, Doctor.
Birmingham. Oh, an excellent university. Some very good people.
Third floor, Dr. McHenry.
Only of philosophy.
Your baggage is there?
Yes, I'll see to that. Can I have the key, please?
Third floor. Dr. Anderson, 9th floor.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Chetwin, 9th floor.
Is there any message for me?
No? Letter for Dr. Anderson.
Oh, thank you very much. I say, look who's over there, Broadbent and Crisp.
Who? Oh, yes.
Who?
Crisp and Broadbent. They must be staying here, too.
Broadbent. Crisp. The kid over there by the newsstand.
Yes, that's Crisp.
My God, they get younger all the time.
Sir, please. Crisp is 22. Broadbent's past his peak, but Crisp is the next genius, in my opinion.
Do you know him?
Well, not personally, but I've been watching him for a couple of years.
He's Newcastle, isn't he?
Yes.
Never heard of him. What's his role there?
Well, he's what used to be called left wing. Broadbent's in the centre. He's an opportunist more than anything. This is you.
Ah, yes. Do you think the rooms are bugged?
See you later.
Yes.
What was it Aristotle said about the higher you go, the further you fall?
He was talking about tragic heroes.
Thank you.
I'm this way. There is a restaurant downstairs. The menu's very limited, but it's all right.
Oh, you've been here before, have you?
Yes. Perhaps I'll see you later then, sir.
Sir. Yes?
I am Pavel Holar,
Yes.
Professor Anderson.
Oh, holla! Oh, heavens, yes, how extraordinary. Come in.
Thank you. I'm sorry to...
No. What a pleasant surprise. I've only just arrived, as you can see, so sit where you can. Well, how are you? What are you doing? You live in Prague?
Oh, yes.
Well. well. Well, how are you? Must be 10 years.
Yes, it is 10. I took my degree in 67.
Yes, you got a decent degree too, didn't you?
Yes, I got the first.
Of course you did, yes. Well done, well done. Are you still in philosophy?
No, unfortunately.
What are you doing now?
I am, what do you say, a cleaner.
A cleaner, what's that?
Cleaning. Washing. With the brush and the bucket. I'm a cleaner at the bus station.
You wash buses?
No, no, not buses. The lavatories, the floors where people walk and so on.
I see you're a cleaner.
Yes.
Are you married now or anything?
Yes, I married. She was almost my fiancée when I went to England. Irma. She's a country girl. No English, no philosophy. We have a son who is Sasha. That is Alexander.
I see.
And Mrs. Anderson?
She died. Did you meet her ever?
No.
I don't know what to say.
Did she die recently?
No, I mean a cleaner.
I had 1 year graduate research. My doctoral studies were on certain connections with Thomas Paine and Locke, but then, since 68...
Cleaning lavatories.
First I was in a bakery, later on construction, building houses, many other things. It's the way it is for many people.
Is it all right for you to be here talking to me?
Oh yes, why not? You are my old professor. I have something here. You understand these things, of course? Of course.
Oh. To England?
Thank you. It is better to be careful.
Why, you don't seriously suggest my room's bad?
It is better to assume it.
Why? I hope you're not getting me into trouble.
I hope not. I don't think so. I have friends in trouble.
Yes, I know it's dreadful, but... Well, what is it?
My doctoral thesis. It is mainly theoretical, only 10,000 words, but very formally arranged.
My goodness, what, 10 years into writing?
No. I wrote it this month. When I heard of this Congress here and you coming, I decided every day in the night.
I see, yes, of course. Well, I'll be very happy to read it.
It is in Czech.
Oh. Well,
I'm afraid so, but Petr Volkansky, you remember him? We were together. We came together in 63.
Oh, yes, Volkansky. Yes, I do remember him. He never came back.
No, he didn't come back. He was a realist.
He's at, Reading or somewhere like that.
Leicester.
Leicester, exactly. Are you in touch with it?
A little. He will translate it and try to have it published in English, if it's good. I think it is good.
But can't you publish it in Czech? Oh, holla. No, really, I'm a guest of the government here.
They would not search you.
No, that's not the point, I'm sorry. I mean, it'd be bad manners, wouldn't it?
Bad manners?
Yes, I know that sounds rather lame, but ethics and manners are interestingly related. The history of human calumny is largely a series of breaches of good manners. Or perhaps if I said correct behavior, it wouldn't sound so ridiculous. You do see what I mean, I'm sorry. So look, can we go back, because I ought to unpack.
My thesis is about correct behavior.
Oh, yes?
Here, you know, individual correctness is defined by what is correct for the state.
Yes, I know.
I ask how collective right can have meaning by itself. I ask where it comes from, this idea of a collective ethic.
Yes.
I reply that it comes from the individual, one man's dealings with another man.
Yes.
The collective ethic can only be the individual ethic writ big.
Writ large.
Writ large, precisely. The ethics of the state must be judged against the fundamental ethic of the individual, the human being, not the citizen. I conclude that there is an obligation, a human responsibility, to fight against the state correctness. Unfortunately, that is not a safe conclusion.
Yes, quite. You see, the difficulty arises when one asks oneself how the individual ethic can have any meaning by itself. I mean, where does that come from? In what sense is it intelligible, for example, to say that a man has certain inherent individual rights? It's much easier to understand how a community of individuals can decide to give each other certain rights. These rights may or may not include, for example, the right to publish something. Now, in that situation, the individual ethic would flow from the collective ethic, just as the state says it does. I only mean it's a question you would have to deal with.
I mean, it is not safe for me.
Well, yes, but, for example, you could say that such an arrangement between a man and the state is a sort of contract. And it's the essence of a contract that both parties enter into it freely, and you've not entered into it freely. I mean, that would be one line of attack.
It is not the main line. You see, to me, the idea of an inherent right is intelligible. I believe that we have such rights and that they are paramount.
Well, yes, I see you do, but how do you justify the assertion?
I observe. I observe my son, for example.
Your son?
For example.
Look, there's no need to stand out here. There's no point. Because I was going to have a bath and change, because I'm meeting some of my colleagues later.
I am not a famous dissident, a writer, a scientist.
No.
If I am picked up on the way home, let us say, there's no fuss. A cleaner, I will be one of hundreds. It's all right, in the end, it must change. But I have something to say. That is all. If I can leave my statement behind, then it's okay. You understand?
Perhaps the correct thing for me to have done was not to have accepted their invitation to speak here, but I did accept it. It's a contract, as it were, freely entered into. And having accepted their hospitality, I cannot in all conscience start smuggling. No, it's just not ethical.
But if you didn't know you were smuggling...
No, smuggling entails knowledge.
If I hid my thesis in your luggage, for
No,
instance...
no, that's childish. Also, you could be getting me into trouble, and your quarrel is not with me. Your action would be unethical on your own terms. One man's dealings with another man. No, I'm sorry.
No. It is I who must apologize. The man next door. Is he one of your group?
No, I don't know him.
My bag.
Oh, yes.
You will have a bath?
Well, I thought I would. What?
About carrying this home. I did not expect to take it away. I ask a favor. Ethical.
What is it?
Let me leave this here, and you can bring it to my apartment tomorrow. I have a safe place for it there.
But you know my time here is very crowded. Do you live nearby?
It is not far. I have written the address.
But do seriously expect to be searched on your way home?
I don't know. It's better to be careful. I wrote a letter to Mr. Husak. Also some other things. So sometimes they follow me.
But you weren't worried about bringing the thesis with you?
No, if someone follows me, they want to know what books you bring me.
I see. Yes, all right, Hora, I'll bring it tomorrow.
Please, don't leave it in your room when you go to eat. Take your briefcase. So, perhaps you will come and meet my wife.
Yes. Should I telephone?
No, unfortunately, my telephone is removed. But I'm home all day, Saturday.
Oh, yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I forgot. Welcome to Prague.
Morning. Mr. Crisp, my name's Anderson. I'm a very great admirer of yours.
Oh, so,
So good luck this afternoon.
thanks. Bloody useless of this in this place.
Yes, are you all staying in this hotel?
You all Roy? It's waiting for you.
Good morning. Good luck this afternoon.
Right, thanks. You over for the match?
Yes. Well, partly. I've got my ticket.
You didn't pull it then?
Oh, no chance.
They don't trust you, do they?
Probably right, aren't they? Remember Milan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. About a bloody time.
I see from yesterday's paper they fought in Jurasek for Tropek.
Yeah, that's right. 6'8", they say.
Oh, he's not very good in the air. Lexi's got lots of space. Grand, please.
You've seen him, have you?
I've seen him twice. In the UFA Cup a few seasons ago. I happened to be in Berlin for the Hegel colloquium. Bun fight. And then last season I was in Bratislava to receive an honorary degree.
Tap his ankles for him. Teach him to be 6'8".
Leave off. You never know, do you?
Oh, yeah. Maybe the lift bounce.
He scored both times from the same move and came close twice more.
Oh, yeah?
Look, I realize it's none of my business. You may think I'm an absolute ass, but look, if Hallis takes a corner, he's going to make it short, almost certainly, and push it back to Demel or Kautsky, who pulls the defense out, and Jurasek hangs about for the chip to the far post. And they'll do the same thing from a set piece 3 or 4 times in the same match, really. Short corners and free kicks. Anyway, that's why they brought Jurasek back, in my opinion.
Morning. You got together then?
Colleague, Mr. McKendrick.
You're Crisp. Bill McKendrick. Here you're doing some very interesting work up in Newcastle. Great stuff. Still like to think of myself as a bit of a left-winger at Stoke. Mind you, my work is largely empirical. I leave epistemological questions to the scholastics, eh, Anderson?
McKendrick.
Did you say Stoke?
Yes, we met before, haven't we? Your face is familiar.
McKendrick.
Well, there's a choice of open forums tonight. Neo-Hegelians or Quinian neo-positivists. Which do you fancy? It's a pity Quine couldn't be here, isn't it? And Hegel, for that matter.
The confusion, which often arises from the ambiguity of ordinary language, raises special problems for a logical language. Now, this is especially so when the ambiguity is not casual and inadvertent, but when it is contrived. In fact, the limitations of a logical language are likely to appear when we ask ourselves whether it can accommodate a literature or whether poetry can be reduced to a logical language. It is here that deliberate ambiguity
It's a perfectly understandable mistake.
makes problems. Nor must we confuse ambiguity, furthermore, with mere synonymity. When we say that a politician ran for office, that is not an ambiguous statement.
I
It is
said I
merely
knew
an
his
instance
face.
of a word having different applications.
Match for the day?
Literal, idiomatic, and so on. Now, the intent is clear in each application. The show ran well on Broadway. Native dancer ran well at Kentucky, and so on. And what about this word, well? Again, it is applied as a qualifier.
So, this
Very
pressing
few
engagement of yours is a football match.
The show
The World Cup
ran
qualifier is
for a
not
long
just a
time.
football match.
The horse ran fast, and so on. There's no problem here, as long as these variations are what I propose to call reliable. You eat well, says Mary to John. You cook well, says John to Mary. Now, we know that when Mary says you eat well, she does not mean that John eats skillfully. Just as we know that when John says you cook well, he does not mean that Mary cooks abundantly.
But I'm sorry
Now, I
about
say
missing
that
your paper, I really am.
We know this. But I mean only that our general experience indicates it. But it is the mark of a sound theory that it should take account not merely of the general experience, but also of the particular experience. And not merely of the particular experience, but of the unique experience. And not merely of the unique experience, but the hypothetical experience. And it is when we consider the world of possibilities, this hypothetical experience, that we get closer to ambiguity. You cook well, says John to Mary. You eat well, says Mary to John.
You ever wonder whether all
There's
this
no
is
problem
worthwhile?
No.
But I ask
I know what you mean.
to imagine a competition when what is being judged is table manners.
Les politesses de table. Jean entre dans son compte.
And afterwards, Mary says, well, you certainly ate well. Now, Mary seems to be saying that John ate skillfully with refinement. Now, I ask you to imagine a competition where the amount of food eaten is taken into account, along with refinement of table manners. Now, Mary says to John, well, you didn't eat very well, but at least you ate well.
Vous avez mangé bien.
Clearly, there is no way of knowing whether Mary means that John ate abundantly, but clumsily, or that John ate frugally, but elegantly.
Oh, by the way,
Well, here we have a real
I've got you a copy of my paper.
ambiguity. Now, to
Oh,
restate
thank you very much.
Mary's sentence in a logical,
It's not a long paper. You could read it comfortably during half-time.
but this is to assume that Mary exists. Now, let us say that she's a fictitious character out of a story I've written. Very well, you say to me, the author, what did Mary mean? Well, I might reply, I don't know what she meant. Her ambiguity makes the necessary point of my story. And here I think the idea of a logical language, which can only be unambiguous, breaks down.
I'm going to make a discreet exit. I've got a call to make before the match.
Yes. Professor Anderson, I think.
I'd only like to offer Professor Stone the observation that language is not the only level of human communication, perhaps not the most important level. Whereof we cannot speak, thereof we are by no means silent. Verbal language is a technical refinement of our capacity for communication rather than the fons et origo of that capacity. The likelihood is that language develops in an ad hoc way, so there's no reason to expect its development to be logical. The importance of language is overrated. It allows me and Professor Stone to show off a bit, and it's very useful for communicating detail. But the important truths are simple and monolithic. The essentials of a given situation speak for themselves, and language is as capable of obscuring the truth as of revealing it. Thank you.
Professor Stone.
What was the question?
I'm looking for Mr. Holler.
Ja, Actor Stevie.
English? Parlez-vous français? Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Deutsch, ein bisschen.
Yes, actually I don't. Does Mr. Holler live here? Apartment Holler.
Nějaký Angličan, vy ho znáte?
Mrs. Holler? Is your husband here? Pavel.
Pavla zavřeli.
Co tu máte? Co se tu děje?
Oh, I'm looking for Mr. Holler. I'm a friend from England, his professor. My name's Anderson.
Not here. Říká, že zná vašeho manžela nějaký Anderson.
He was my student.
No tak počkejte, tak já se ho
Počkejte!
Student. Philosophy.
Tak já se
Počkejte, nechte to!
Nezavírejte ty dveře!
Well, I just came to see him just to say hello. For a minute, because I have a taxi waiting. A taxi.
Taxi, yes.
So
Moment.
I can't stay.
Moment, okay? Nenech ho odejít. Státní bezpečnost. Potřebujeme použít váš telefon. Moment, okay?
Well, look, if you don't mind, I'm on my way to an engagement.
Jen tu zůstaňte.
Právo na to mít svědka!
What's going on in there?
Zůstaňte.
No, look here.
Zůstaňte. Jděte, zalezte. Jděte dovnitř. Slečno, tady nemáte vůbec co dělat.
I demand to
A vy,
speak to Mrs.
tamhle,
Holler.
pomožte tam té bábě a jděte dovnitř.
Now look here, I'm the J.S. Mill Professor of Ethics at the University of Cambridge, and I demand to be allowed to leave.
Moment.
Or
Zalezte.
telephone the British Ambassador.
Vy děti taky.
Krabál, ten ho dovnitř.
Dovnitř. Dovnitř. Dovnitř.
Tady lidi musí na noční.
Na vás to taky platí.
Zůstaneš s ním?
Prosím vás pěkně, jestli je to můj svědek, tak může dovnitř.
Tak jděte, váš svědek to ale
Jak to,
není.
že to není můj svědek, jak to, že je to můj svědek? Co mi budete povídat, já to vím dobře. Můj svědek, co mi budete...
Já se nechte toho.
Tak je nechte otevřený, však se hned vrátí.
Museli jsme dovnitř, aby jsme ji zatkali.
Že už sem jede. Captain Cumming, speak English.
I would like to telephone the British Ambassador.
Captain Cumming.
Yes, but how long will you be? Because I have an appointment. Yes, by God, I do have an engagement, and it starts in half an hour.
Please. Please. Našli jste něco?
Nic.
Nic tu není. Ale tebe tady nepotřebujeme.
Jo.
Potřebujeme moudrej. Taxi.
Oh, I forgot him, dear me.
No, okay.
No, I must pay him.
Okay.
Oh, give that back! Now, you listen to me. This has gone on quite long enough. I demand to be allowed to leave.
Strejda má lístek na zápas z Anglii. Ani se nedivím, že zuří. Taxi okay. No money, he go. Football no good.
Certainly right.
Dávaj to v rádiu, zapni mu to. Taky si to rádi poslechnem.
Hráč číslem 7 Bartok se už úplně zotavil ze zranění.
To je moje rádio.
Váš známý chce poslouchat tu reportáž.
Jim Bart, který se rozcvičuje před ústí své svatyně po naší levici. Pak Shell, Dickinson a vysoký urostlý Wilson. Jeho úkolem je pravděpodobně hlídat nebezpečného Demla a kapitán Angličanů Peterbury. V záloze jsou Broadbent, Davy, Boyce a Hales do rohu pokutového území. Utkání stále do nerozhodného stavu 0-0 a Halas se připravuje k výkopu. Ale soudce mává, aby hra pokračovala. Raucher však ztratil míč. Zmocnili se ho
I demand to be allowed to leave or to tell...
Too slow.
Už se mu šikovně staví.
I demand to leave.
Okay. Who wins football?
No score.
Walker Halas vyvine se z toho další útok na anglickou branku, ale to již prudce vydíhá.
Vypněte někdo to rádio.
Ten se snaží přihrát Halasovi, začne přesně a míč končí na koncovkách Broadbenta.
Prosím vás pěkně, ukažte mi, kde je napsáno, že nesmím poslouchat vlastní rádio. A to jsou moje privátní dopisy. Co pak už vám není nic svatý?
Rozumím.
Bart vykopává až do naší poloviny. Jirásek stopil míč a přihrává Latvírkou Francovi. Na toho okamžitě dotírá Frank. Franc klopítá, ale podařilo se mu přihrát Demlo, ten se kličkou vyhýbá Dalymu.
Professor Anderson, I am sorry your friend Mr. Hollard has got himself into trouble.
Thank Christ. Now listen to me. I'm a professor of philosophy. I'm a guest of the Czechoslovakian government. I might almost say an honoured guest. I've been invited to speak at a colloquium in Prague. My connections in England reach up to the highest in the land.
Do you know the Queen?
Certainly. No, I do not know the Queen, but I speak the truth when I say that I'm personally acquainted with two members of the government, one of whom has been to my house, and I assure you that unless I'm allowed to leave this building immediately, there's going to be a major incident about the way my liberty has been impeded by your men. I don't know what they're doing here. I do not care what they're doing.
Excuse me, Professor. There is some mistake. I thought you were here as a friend of the Hollard family.
Oh, I know Pavel Hollard, certainly.
Absolutely. You are here as a friend at Mrs. Hollard's request.
No, I just dropped in. What do you mean?
Well, Mr. Hollard, unfortunately, has been arrested for a serious crime against the state. It is usual for the home of an accused person to be searched for evidence and so on. I'm sure the same thing happens in your country. Well, under our laws, Mrs. Hollard is entitled to have a friendly witness present during the search. To be frank, she's entitled to have two witnesses. So, if, for example, an expensive vase is broken by mistake and the police claim that it was broken before, it is not just her word against theirs. And so, I think you will agree that is fair. Well, my understanding is that she has asked you to be her witness. Exactly so. You are Mr. Hollard's friend, aren't you?
Well, I taught him in Cambridge after he left Czechoslovakia.
A brave man?
Yes, a change of language and culture.
He walked through a minefield in 1962. Brave.
Perhaps he was simply desperate.
Perhaps a little ungrateful. The state, you know, educated him, fed him for 18 years. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
But he came back in the spring of '68.
Yes.
A miscalculation.
How do you mean?
Well, there are a lot of things wrong in England, but it's still not a serious crime against the state to put forward a philosophical view which does not find favour with the government.
Professor, Hollard is charged with currency offences. There is a black market in hard currency. It is illegal. We cannot have laws about philosophy. He is an ordinary criminal. A penalty for us, I'm afraid.
Yes, I can hear.
Broadbent made a bad tackle when Damel had a certain goal. What you call it? A necessary foul.
A professional foul.
Yes. Not good for you. So, you've had a philosophical discussion with Hollard.
I believe you implied that I was free to go. I'm quite sure you know Holler visited me in my hotel last night. It was a social call which I was returning when I walked into this. And furthermore, I knew nothing about being a witness. I was prevented from leaving. I only came to say hello and to meet Pavel's wife on my way to the football.
Oh, so you came to Czechoslovakia to go to the football match, Professor?
No, certainly not. But the afternoon of the colloquium was devoted to. Well, it was not a condition of my invitation that I should attend all the sessions. I was invited to speak, not to listen. I'm speaking tomorrow morning.
Why should I know that Hollard visited you at the hotel?
Well, he told me he was often followed.
When a man is known to be engaged in meeting foreigners to buy currency.
Oh, I don't believe any of that. He was being harassed because of his letter to Husak.
A letter to President Husak? What sort of letter?
Your people knew about it?
It's not a crime to write to the president.
No doubt that depends on what's written.
Oh, you mean he wrote some sort of slander?
I insist on leaving now.
Of course. You know, your taxi driver has made a complaint against you.
What are you talking about?
He never got paid.
Well, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you are not to blame. My officer told him to go.
Yes, that's right.
Still, he is very unhappy. He says you told him you would be 5 minutes. You were delivering something.
How could I have told him that? I don't speak Czech.
You showed him 5 on your watch. And you did all those things that people do when they talk to each other without a language. He's quite certain that you were delivering something in your briefcase.
Yes, all right. But it was not money.
No, of course not. You are not a criminal.
No, quite so. But I promised to bring him 1 or 2 of the colloquium papers. He naturally has an interest in philosophy. I assume it's not illegal?
Naturally not. And you won't mind showing me. Ethical fictions as ethical foundations. Philosophy and the catastrophe theory. You wish to go to the football? You will see 20 minutes, perhaps more.
No, I'm going back to the university, to the colloquium.
On už jde?
Mrs. Hollard would like you to remain.
No, I'm sorry. If you spoke to the taxi driver, you must have known perfectly well I was going to the England match.
Soudru kapitáne, tohle bylo schováno pod podlahou.
To není pravda, tomu tam někdo dal. Nevěřte mu to, prosím vás. Teď on lže.
Mrs. Holler?
Yeah, you top of the running, please. Okay. Prague, Saturday. There'll be Czechs bouncing in the streets of Prague tonight as bankruptcy stares English football in the face. Stop. New car. It's open. Make no mistake, comma. the 4-goal credit which these slick Slovaks netted here this afternoon will keep them in the black through the second leg of the World Cup Eliminator at Wembley next month. Stop. New par. Yes? You can bank on it.
I'm next door.
Bank on it. New par. Look, can you come back? New par, yeah. But for some determined saving by third choice Jim Bart in the injury-jinxed England goal, we would have been overdrawn by 4 more when the books were closed. Stop. Maybe Napoleon was wrong when he said we were a nation of shopkeepers. Stop. Today, England looked like a nation of goalkeepers. Stop. Davy, Petherbridge and Shell all made saves on the line. New par.
Do you mind if I listen, because I missed the match?
Dickinson and Pratt were mostly left standing by Volker with a W and Demel, D Dog, E Edward, M Mother, L London, who could go round the halls as a telepathy act. Stop. Only Crisp looked as if he had a future outside Madame Tussauds. AUDS. Stop. He laid on the 2 best chances, comma, both wasted by Pratt, who skied one and stubbed his toe on the other. Stop. Crisp's, apostrophe S, comment from where I was sitting looked salt and vinegar flavoured. Stop.
Wilson, who would like to be thought the big
crowd
bad man of the English defence, looked merely slow-footed and slow-witted. Stop. Demel, D-E, M mother L, Demel got round him 5 times on the trot bracket, literally, close bracket, using the same swerve, comma, making Wilson look elephantine in everything but memory. Stop. On the 5th occasion, there was nothing to prevent Demel scoring, except what Broadbent took it on himself to do, which was to scythe down Demel from behind. Stop. Halles scored from the penalty. Stop. Can I help you?
I'm sorry, I'm from next door.
Penalty. New paragraph. I won't be long. This goal emboldened the Czechs to move Bartok, like the composer, forward and risk the consequences. Stop. 10 minutes later, just before half-time, he was the man left over to collect a short corner from Halles, and it was his chip which Jurasek rose to meet for a simple goal at the far post.
I knew it.
New paragraph. As with tragic opera, things got worse after the interval.
And Jurasek, unmarked at the far post, flapped into the air like a great stork, and rising a yard higher than Bart's outstretched hands, he put Czechoslovakia on the road to victory.
Now, Phil, don't you want to stay in English? When I say to you, tell me what you mean, all you can reply is... I'd wish to say so-and-so. Never mind what you would wish to say, I replied. Tell me what you mean.
Mais oui, but if you ask me in French, you must say qu'est-ce que vous voudriez dire? What is it that you would wish to say? Naturellement, it is in order for me to reply, je voudrais dire, etc.
Well, now you're making my point. Now you see?
What do you think the chances are of meeting a free and easy woman in a place like this?
I can't ask you in French.
Don't mean free
Pourquoi
necessarily.
non? Qu'est-ce que vous voudriez dire? Voilà, now I have asked you.
You don't often see goose on an English menu.
The French have no verb meaning I mean.
Why is that, I wonder?
They don't.
You're always eating goose and Dickens.
Do you think it would be safe?
C'est ce que je vous dis. Qu'est-ce que vous voudriez dire?
I mean, one wouldn't want to be photographed through a two-way mirror.
I don't want to ask you what you would wish to say. I want to ask you
We
what
do
you
have
mean.
goose
I mean,
liver.
let's assume there
What
is
do
a
they do with the
difference.
rest of the goose?
Assume you say one and you mean the other.
Je dis quelque chose, mais je voudrais dire.
Right!
Excuse me, Brad.
Yeah.
You eat well, but you're a lousy eater.
Excuse us. À bientôt. What you've got is an incorrect statement and one correct, and it looks like it's misinterpreted.
Did you get a chance to read my paper?
Well, I've only had time to glance at it. I look forward to reading it carefully.
I read it.
Weren't you there for it?
No, he sloped off for the afternoon.
Well, you sly devil, Chetwynd. I bet you had a depressing afternoon. Makes heart sick, doesn't it?
Yes, it does rather. We don't know we've been born.
It wasn't at the football match.
Oh, is that where you were?
No, I got distracted.
He's being mysterious. I think it's a woman.
What were you doing?
I have friends here, that's all.
He's being mysterious. I don't think it's a woman.
I was meeting some friends.
Was your paper well received?
No, they didn't get it. I could tell by the questions that there's some sort of communications failure.
Well, the translation phones?
No, they simply didn't get the line of argument. Most of them had never heard of catastrophe theory, so they weren't ready for what is admittedly an audacious application of it.
I must admit, I'm not absolutely clear about it.
Well, it's like a reverse gear. No, it's like a breaking point. You see, the mistake people make is they think that a moral principle is indefinitely extendable, that it holds good for any situation. A straight line cutting across a graph of our actual behavior. Here you see morality down here running parallel to immorality up here. Never the twain shall meet. People think that's what a principle means.
And it isn't?
No. The lines are in the same plane, you see. They are the edges of the same plane. You have to think of it in 3 dimensions, and then if you twist the plane in a certain way into what we call the catastrophe curve, you get a model of the sort of behavior we find in the real world. And there's a point, the catastrophe point, where your progress along one line of behavior jumps you into the opposite line. A principle reverses itself at the point where a rational man would abandon it.
Then it's not a principle.
Well, there aren't any principles in your sense. There are simply a lot of principled people trying to behave as if there were.
No, it's the same thing, surely.
No, you're a worse case than Chetwynd and his primitive Greeks. At least he has the excuse of believing in goodness and beauty. You know they're fictions, but you're so hung up on them, you want to treat them as if they were God-given absolutes.
Well, I don't see how else they could have any practical value.
You end up using a moral principle as your excuse for acting against a moral interest. It's a sort of funk.
You make your points altogether too easily, McKendrick. What need have you of moral courage when your principles reverse themselves so conveniently?
All right, gone too far, as usual. Sorry. Talk about something else, shall we? There's quite an attractive woman hanging around outside, loitering in the vestibule. Do you think it's a trap? My wife said to me, Bill, now don't do anything daft, you know what you're like. If a blonde knocked on your door with the top 3 buttons of her police uniform undone and asked you for a cup of sugar, you'd convince yourself she was a bus conductor growing up in the next room.
No, I'm sorry, you're right up to a point. No moral dilemmas if moral principles worked in straight lines and never crossed each other. One meets test situations which have troubled much cleverer men than us.
A good rule I find is to try them out on men much less clever than us. I often ask my son what he thinks.
Your son?
Yeah, he's 8.
She's definitely glancing in this direction. Seriously, do you think one could chat her up?
does a woman? Crafty old beggar.
Všechno v pořádku. Všechno dobrý. Sáša. Děkuji mu, že přišel. He's saying thank you that you come. A že ho neradi obtěžuji. She's saying sorry for the trouble.
No, I'm sorry about everything. Do you learn English at school?
Yes, I'm learning English 2 years. And my father also.
You're very good.
Not good. You are a friend of my father. Thank you.
I'm afraid I've done nothing.
Zeptej se ho, jestli má ty papíry. You have his writing.
His thesis, yes, it's in here.
Je to dobrý, pořád má. Řekni, že jsem nevěděla, kdo je dneska odpoledne, když přišel. My mother is not knowing who you are tomorrow at the apartment.
Today.
Today, pardon. So she is saying, come here, come here, come inside the apartment. For she is not knowing. My father is not telling her. He's telling me only.
I see. What did he tell you?
He will go see his friend, the English professor. He is taking the writing.
I see. Did he return home last night?
No. He is arrested outside hotel. Then in the night, they come to make search.
Had they been there all night?
At 11 o'clock, they are coming. They search 20 hours.
My God.
In the morning, I go to Bartolomiejska. Policia. To be seeing him. But I am not seeing him. They say go home. I am waiting. Then I'm going home. Then I'm seeing you.
What are they looking for?
Western books. Also, my father is writing things, letters, politics, philosophy, but they find nothing. Some English books they don't like, but really nothing. But the dollars, of course, they pretend to find.
Musíš mu říct, že ty dolary tam nacpala policie.
Not my father's dollars. He's having no monies.
Yes, I know.
They must arrest him for dollars because he does nothing. No bad things. He's signing something, so they are making trouble.
Yes.
Řekni, že ty papíry musí vrátit.
You must give back my father's writing. Not now, in the next days. My mother cannot take it.
But he asked me to take it to England.
Not possible now, but thank you.
But he asked me to take it.
Not possible now. Now they search you, I think, at the airport. Because they are seeing you come to your apartment. You have too much contact. Maybe they are seeing us now. It's possible.
I ought to tell you. I came to the apartment to give the thesis back. I refused him. But he was afraid he might be stopped. I thought he just meant searched, not arrested.
Too quick, too quick.
What do you want me to do?
My father's friend, he's come to Philosophy Congress today.
Tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow. You give him the writing. It's called Jan. He's okay. Good friend.
Jan.
Zítra to přinese Honzovi do univerzitky.
Dobře.
We go home now.
I am sorry. What will happen to him?
Co říkal?
Se vidět, co bude s tátou.
Rozině.
That is a prison. Rozině.
I will, of course, try to help in England. I'll write letters. Czech ambassador. I have friends, too, in our government. Now, listen, I'm personally friendly with important people. The Minister of Education, people like that.
Prosím vás, pomožte Pavlu.
Mrs. Holler, I'll do everything I can for him.
Oh, hello. Sorry, are we making too much noise?
No, it's all right, but I heard you were still up, and I wondered if I could ask a favour of you. I wonder if I could borrow your typewriter.
A typewriter?
Yes.
Well, I'm leaving in the morning.
Well, I'll let you have it back first thing, because I'm leaving on the afternoon plane myself.
Oh, all right.
Well, that's most kind. Sounds as if you've got McKendrick in there.
Oh, is he one of yours?
Oh, I wouldn't put it like that.
He's getting tight as a tick.
Yes.
Listen, you couldn't collect him, could you? It's going to get cloudy.
Oh, go ahead and clout it if you like.
No, it's not me. It's Broadbent and a couple of the lads. Your pal sort of latched onto us in the bar. He really ought to be getting home.
Yes, all right. I'll see what I can do.
No use expecting them to be little gentlemen when their heroes behave like yobs. No, let me finish. You've got yobs on the pitch, you're going to have yobs on the terraces.
Well, some of us are.
Anderson, very man I wanted to see. We're having a philosophical discussion here about the yob ethics of professional footballers.
You want to watch it, mate?
Now, Roy here is sensitive because he gave away a penalty today by deliberate foul. To stop a certain goal, he hacked a chap down. After all, a penalty might be saved. Broken legs are quite rare. No, it's perfectly all right. You were simply adopting the utilitarian values of the game for the good of the side, for England. Not talking about individual acts of expediency, no, I'm talking about the whole ethos.
McKendrick, don't you think it's about time we retired?
Now, I've played soccer for years and years. I played soccer from the age of 8 until I was 13, at which point I went to a rugger school. But even so, Tommy there will tell you that I still consider myself something of a left-winger. Sorry about the business in the lift, by the way, Tommy. One thing I remember clearly from all those years and years is that when two players go for a ball, which then goes into touch, there is never any doubt among those players which of them touched the ball last. I can't remember one occasion in all those years and years when the player who touched the ball last didn't realize it. So, what I want to know is, why is it that on Match of the Day, every bloody time the ball goes into touch, both players claim the throw-in for their own side? I merely ask for information. Is it because they're very, very stupid? Or is it because a dishonest advantage is as welcome as an honest one?
Oh, well, look, it's been a long evening, old chap.
Tomorrow's another day.
Tomorrow, in my experience, is usually the same day. Have a drink.
No.
All right. Well, here's a question for anthropologists. Name me a tribe which organizes itself into teams for sporting encounters and greets every score against their opponents with paroxysms of childish glee, whooping, dancing and embracing and an ecstasy of crowing self-congratulation in the very midst of their disconsolate fellows. Now, who are these primitives who pile all their responses into the immediate sensation, unaware or uncaring of the long undulations of life's fortunes? Yes! You've got it! It's the Yob of the Month competition. Entries on a postcard, please. But the question is it because they're working class? Or is it because financial greed has corrupted them? Or is it both?
McKendrick, you're being offensive.
Now, Anderson here is one of life's cricketers. Clap, clap. Well played, sir. Bad luck, old chap. Now, a comparison with cricket may well suggest to you that Yob ethics are working class. But you'd be quite wrong. Let me refer you, for example, to a typical rugby team of Welsh miners. The score is greeted with pride, but with restraint. The scorer himself composing his features into an expressionless mask, lest he might be suspected of exulting in his opponent's misfortunes. My God, it does the heart good, doesn't it? I conclude, therefore, that Yob ethics are based on financial greed.
Don't listen to you, ass.
Now you think it's adulation, do you? Is it adulation, Tommy, which has corrupted you? Eh?
What's he flaming on about?
Well, I think it's time
No.
to shut eye.
No, I want to know what he's saying to me. He's giving me the
Yes,
needle.
may I remind you that you profess to be something of a pragmatist yourself in matters of ethics?
Yes, I see. You think that because I don't believe in reliable signposts along the yellow brick road to Rainbow Land, you think that I'm a bit of a yob myself, eh? The swift kick in the kneecap on the way up the academic ladder, the Roy Broadbent of Stoke. Stoke's my team, you know.
Look, someone tell this stupid bugger his philosophy is getting at my nostrils.
You're not making much sense, you know.
Now, Grayson here has a fine, logical mind. He's put his finger on the floor in my argument, namely that the reason that footballers are yobs may be nothing to do with being working class or with financial greed or even with being footballers. It may simply be that football attracts a certain type of person, namely yobs.
Good on you, Roy.
Well, I ain't going to bed.
You can't say that sort of thing and get away with it.
Where's his room?
On the third floor.
Bloody hell.
He's waking up, Roy.
He's all right.
I'll take him down in the lift. I'll come back for the typewriter.
All right, I've gone too far as usual. Let's talk about something else, shall we?
Here, that bloody Girosec. Just like you said.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't teach you nothing at that place, then.
No. I propose in this paper to take up a problem which many have taken up before me, namely the conflict between the rights of individuals and the rights of the community. I'll be making a distinction between rights and rules. I'll seek to show that rules, insofar as they're related to rights, are a secondary and consequential elaboration of primary rights. And I'll be associating rules generally with communities and rights generally with individuals. I'll seek to show that a conflict between the two is generally a pseudo-conflict arising out of one side or the other pressing a pseudo-right. Although claiming priority for rights over rules, where they are in conflict, I'll be defining rights as fictions acting as incentives to the adoption of practical values. And I'll further propose that although these rights are fictions, there's an obligation to treat them as if they were truths. And further, that although this obligation can be shown to be based on values which are based on fictions, there's an obligation to treat that obligation as though it were based on truth, and so on ad infinitum.
Pardon me, Professor. This is not your paper.
In what sense? I'm indisputably giving it.
It is not the paper you were invited to give.
I wasn't invited to give a particular paper.
You offered one.
Yes, that's true.
But this is not it.
No, I changed my mind.
But this is irregular.
I didn't realize it mattered.
It's a discourtesy.
Or bad manners. Oh, I'm sorry.
You cannot give this paper. We do not have copies.
Do you mean that philosophical papers require some sort of clearance?
The translators cannot work without copies.
Oh. Well, don't worry. It's not a technical paper. If we decline to define rights as fictions, albeit with the force of truths, there are only two senses in which humans could be said to have rights. Firstly, humans might be said to have certain rights if they had collectively and mutually agreed to give each other these rights. This would merely mean that humanity is a rather large club with club rules. But it's not what is generally meant by human rights. It's not what Locke meant, and it's not what the American founding fathers meant when, taking the hint from Locke, they held certain rights to be unalienable, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The early Americans claimed these as the endowment of God, which is the second sense in which humans might be said to have rights. This is a view more encouraged in some communities than in others. I do not wish to dwell on it here, except to say that it is a view and not a deduction, and that I do not hold it myself. What strikes us is the consensus about an individual's rights put forward both by those who invoke God's authority and by those who invoke no authority at all, other than their own idea of what is fair and sensible. The first article of the American Constitution, guaranteeing freedom of religious observance, of expression, of the press, and of assembly, is closely echoed by Articles 28 and 32 of the no less admirable Constitution of Czechoslovakia, our generous hosts on this occasion. Likewise, protection from invasion of privacy, from unreasonable search, and from interference with letters and correspondence, guaranteed to the American people by Article 4, is likewise guaranteed to the Czech people by Article 31. Is such a consensus remarkable? Not at all. If there is a God, we, his creation, would doubtless subscribe to his values. And if there's not a God, he, our creation, would undoubtedly be credited with values which we think are to be fair and sensible. ethics was once regarded as a sort of monument, a ghostly Eiffel Tower constructed of Platonic entities like honesty, loyalty, fairness, and so on, all bolted together and consistent with each other, harmoniously stressed so as to keep the edifice standing up. An ideal against which we measured our behavior. The tower has long been demolished. In our own time, linguistic philosophy proposes that the notion of, say, justice has no existence outside the ways in which we choose to employ the word, and indeed consists only of the way in which we employ it. In other words, that ethics is not the inspiration of our behavior, but merely the creation of our utterances. And yet common observation shows us that this view demands qualification. A small child who cries, "That's not fair," when punished for something done by his brother or sister, is apparently appealing to an idea of justice which is, for want of a better word, natural. And we must see that natural justice, however illusory, does inspire many people's behavior much of the time. As an ethical utterance, it seems to be an attempt to define a sense of rightness which is not simply derived from some other utterance elsewhere. Now, a philosopher exploring the difficult terrain of right and wrong should not be over-impressed by the argument a child would know the difference. But when, let us say, we are being persuaded that it's ethical to put someone in prison for reading or writing the wrong books, it's well to be reminded that you can persuade a man to believe almost anything, provided he's clever enough. But it's much more difficult to persuade someone less clever. There's a sense of right and wrong which precedes utterance. It is individually experienced, and it concerns one person's dealings with another person. From this experience, we built a system of ethics which is a sum of individual acts of recognition of individual right. Now, if this is so, the implications are serious for a collective or state ethic which finds itself in conflict with individual rights and seeks, in the name of the people, to impose its values on the very individuals who comprise the state. The illogic of this maneuver is an embarrassment to totalitarian systems. An attempt is sometimes made to answer it by consigning the whole argument to bourgeois logic, which is a concept no easier to grasp than bourgeois physics or bourgeois astronomy. No, the fallacy must lie elsewhere.
Klid, prosím, budova hoří. Všichni ven, jeden za druhým. Fire! Leave quietly.
Voláme pana Hajka, cestujícího na československé lince Praha-Moskva odlet 16 hodin, aby se dostavil k recepci v hlavní odletové hale.
You picked the wrong cue, old man. Russian roulette. And Chetwick. Empty your pockets.
Britské aerolinie oznamují odlet linky číslo BI 809 do Londýna. Prosíme cestující, aby se odebrali k východu číslo 4. British Airways announces the departure of flight number BT809 to London. Will passengers please proceed to gate 4 for boarding?
Silly bugger, honestly.
Oh, it's all right. I'll put him on the next plane.
To Siberia?
No. That'd be ridiculous. Wouldn't look well for them, would it, all the publicity? I don't think there's anything in Czech law, anyway, about being in possession of letters to Amnesty International, UN, that sort of thing. And they couldn't treat Chetwin as a Czech national, anyway.
Very unpleasant for him, though.
Yes.
Took a big risk.
Yes.
I wouldn't do it, would you?
No. I should have known they'd be searched.
Why did they search you?
They thought I might have something.
Did you have anything?
I did, in a way.
What was it?
A thesis, apparently rather slanderous from the state's point of view.
Where did you hide it?
In your briefcase.
You what?
Last night, I'm afraid, I reversed a principle.
You utter bastard.
Oh, I thought you'd approve.
Look, don't get clever with me. Jesus. Not quite playing the game, is it?
No, I suppose not. But they were very unlikely to search you.
That's not the bloody point.
Oh, I thought it was. But you could be right. Ethics is a very complicated business. And that's why they have these congresses.